Hello and welcome to Rooted in Yad, where I talk about what it's really like living in Jamaica so that you can know what to expect and how to thrive if you are planning to make the move here. And today we are getting into part 2 of my Dating in Jamaica series. And this video is specifically for women to give tips to women from foreign who want to date Jamaican men. As a reminder, I'm coming from a heterosexual monogamous standpoint when I create these videos. Why? Because I am monogamous and heterosexual and that's all I know. So that's where I'm coming from. So firstly, I want to let you know how I'm going to be structuring this video so that you know what to expect. I'm going to be talking about first the cultural things that you need to know that I wanted to include in my last video, but it was going to be too long. So the cultural things that you need to know before you get started. Then I'm going to talk about my positive dating experiences here. And then I want to talk about why I think those experiences were so positive. Or like the things that those guys had in common, which are the things you should probably look out for. Yeah, that's how I'm kind of structuring this. I do want to let you know up front, my last dating experience was like 10, 11 years ago. So I've been out of the game for a while, but I think these tips could still be helpful, and that's why I want to share them with you today. So to start, I'm going to start, as I said, with the cultural things. I think there are a few things that you need to understand about Jamaican men getting into this, okay? So the first thing that I want you to understand is that Jamaican men tend to be very family oriented, okay? And what I mean here is that culturally, they are used to taking care of their families, right? And when I say taking care of their families, I mean giving them money, okay? What this means is that a Jamaican man, okay, if he's in a serious relationship, he will typically give his woman money in order for her to take care of her bills and like herself and her needs. Like he will work regardless of whether or not she works. He will work and make money, and then he will come home and literally give his woman money, like put cash in her hand, right? That's just typical here. And if he's serious about you, that will also extend to you. But I mention Jamaican men being family oriented because this doesn't extend to them just giving their woman money, but the man will also give his family some money in order to help them out. Because for a lot of Jamaicans, money isn't something that's easy to come by. So when someone makes some, it kind of gets shared, especially for men, right? If a man's making money, because of the culture and the expectations in the culture, it's going to get shared throughout the home. Now, what this specifically means for you, okay, is that if you date or marry a Jamaican man, you need to understand that he is going to continue giving his family money, okay? Even if you take him to foreign with you, he will work and then he will be sending his family back money. At least most men here who have a sense of responsibility are going to do that. I understand not all Jamaican men are going to do that, but like a vast majority of them will. And I wanted to share this with you in advance because I know in places, like some places like Canada and the UK and the US, that may not really be typical. And if you experience that, you might feel like, hey, we're married now, right? So this money is supposed to be our money and we really need this money in order to build. And you're probably not wrong. You probably need the money. However, if that man has any sense of responsibility, it doesn't really matter what you say. He's going to be sending money back home, back here to Jamaica, to his family. Because as I said, money is not easy to come by in Jamaica. And the expectation is, especially if he's leaving Jamaica to go to foreign, the expectation is that he will be sending money back home to his family. And even me, right? I was not exempt from this. I mean, at the same time, I didn't mind because I'm very close with my in-laws. I call my mother-in-law mom. I call my father-in-law dad. My sister-in-law, I see her as my big sister. Like, I'm very close with my in-laws, so like I don't mind. But I've heard stories of other women complaining about this, I guess because they weren't prepared, they weren't aware. So I just want you to be prepared and be aware that this is something normal. And this is something that you should probably expect to happen. Like, don't be surprised when it happens. There's no need to like create an argument or something about it because this is just typical for the men in Jamaican culture. Okay, now the second thing that you need to know in advance is that Jamaican men they're very forward, okay? They're very forward, very pursuant, and very quick to want to be in a relationship with you. In fact, I find them very intentional. And when I mean forward, like I mean very, very forward, like hit with a you feel like you got hit with a truck forward. I mean, maybe some women are used to that, right? But like, I was not at all. Like I came here and like these men were like professing their love to me and introducing me to their friends as their future wife. And I'm like, okay, sir, I've known you all of like, what, 2 days? Right? And like men in Canada and the US, they're not like that, right? The men in Canada and the US, like they take their time, they draw things out. You kind of have to like ask them, okay, like what are we? Where is this going? But you know, you can't ask them outright or too directly or else they're gonna get spooked, right? So you kind of like have to hint and then try and like parse through and figure out what their actual intentions are, which I'm like, maybe they don't actually know what their intentions are. I find that a lot of the men in Canada and the US and stuff tend to be very wishy-washy. At least compared to the men in Jamaica. As I said, the men in Jamaica are very forward, right? Like if they want to be with you, they're going to let you know very clearly, I want to be with you. I want to be exclusive with you. Don't see nobody else. I want to be exclusive with you. Like I think I'll give you the story a little later, but when I met my husband, right? The week that I met him, he was letting me know, like, you know, he can't stop thinking about me. He can't eat. He can't sleep, which I mean was later confirmed by his mom. He wasn't just saying stuff. He wasn't lying. His mom confirmed it. But he was just letting me know he was very enamored, very smitten with me, right? And then, you know, when I got back to Canada the following week, he told me that he loved me. I told him I needed more time. I didn't need more time, right? I'm like, buddy, I don't know you like that. I need more time. I like you, but I need more time, right? But this is what I mean by like the men are very forward. They're very pursuant. When I went back to Canada, I'm thinking, you know, the communication would taper off because, you know, it's long distance and blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, it did not. He still pursued me, even though I was in a whole different country. So the men here can be very pursuant. If they want to be with you, they're not afraid to say it, okay? Not to you, not to anyone else. They won't be hiding who you are from people and what you mean to them. They're not going to be hiding any of that, right? They're going to clearly let you know what they want. So those are the two things I wanted you to know culturally about the men here. Now, I want to talk about, I realize I didn't highlight this in my script, but it's fine. I want to talk about now, okay, those dating experiences that I had here that were very positive, and then after that, as I said, I want to talk about why I think those experiences were positive, and these are the things that you should look out for. Okay, so I had three dating experiences here. As I said, all very positive. There was Keith, Ron's, and then my hubby bear, right? And I met all of these men while I was on vacation here in Montego Bay. So with Keith, Keith was a really sweet Rasta man. I actually met him in a club. For those of you who are like, oh, you can't find love in a club. Yes, you can. I met him in a club. I met him in Margaritaville. I think I actually met him the year before I met my husband. So, you know, he was cute, soft-spoken, mild-mannered, very sweet. He actually looked and sounded a lot like Chronix. Like when I saw Chronix, my mom and I had to do a double take. Like, what? We thought it was him for like a good second. But either way, you know, he was just a very good guy. You know, he worked in construction, and I knew that he really cared about me and my well-being. He and I kept talking, like even when I was in Canada. You see what I said about the men being pursuant? He didn't stop pursuing me just because I was in a different country. We kept talking regularly, but it ended just because like I felt like we didn't have that much in common. But he's a 10 out of 10 guy. Great guy. Now the next guy I met after Keith was Ron's. Ron's was a police officer that I also met in Margaritaville. And like we were really feeling each other. And he's the one who, like, after a day or so, introduced me to his friends as his future wife. And I really do think that he really liked me. He was really feeling me. But then that same week I met my husband. So I met my husband not in a club this time, okay, y'all? Not in a club. But I met him. It's still cheesy. It was on the resort that he worked at. The resort I was staying at happened to be the resort that he worked at. And what had happened was, like, he threw his heart at my face. Well, no, he didn't. But I mean, no, he actually kind of did. It's like I felt like he threw his heart at my face and like snatched mine from my chest. That's how it felt. But what happened was, like, I was there reading a book, and then because this resort had a little library, so I was there reading a book. And then like my husband was, in fact, I wasn't reading a book. I felt that I wanted to read a book. I had just come out of my semester of university, and I was just feeling to read a book just for reading a book's sake, not for like school stuff. So this resort had a little library, and I went to go ask him for a book, and he was all like, "Welcome to my library." And that's pretty much how we met. And then we just didn't stop talking from there. And then, as I said, he was like very forward with his intentions, and very forward that he wanted to, very forward in letting me know that he wanted to continue getting to know me. Okay. But in short, all of my dating experiences here were very positive, as you can see, right? And I want to talk about why I think that was, or like why that might have been. I mean, maybe it was just good luck, okay? Maybe. But like three out of three, maybe it's more than luck. I think it's a little more than luck. And these guys seem to have certain things in common, so I want to talk about the things that they had in common. So one is that they were all satisfied with their work or with their pay, right? So Keith was in construction, Ron's was a police officer, and Hubby Bear was a lifeguard. And I will say for Keith, he actually let me know he wanted to come to Canada and like work and like support me through school, so I didn't have to work because I was working through school, and he didn't want that for me. He just wanted me to focus on my studies. But the point is, they were all fine with their work, okay? Now the second thing is, they never asked me for anything, okay? If you heard my stories, if you heard when I was talking, like they never asked me for anything, not even credit for their phone. They asked me for nothing. I mean, Ron's, I didn't know long enough, I guess. I don't know if he would have asked me for something, but it didn't seem so. It seemed he was very, very content with what he was doing. But, they never asked anything of me. If anything, I'd come here to visit them, and they would have gifts for me. Even if I'm not visiting. When I met Keith that same week, he was already bringing me like fruits and stuff. Like I didn't even ask him. He was already bringing me fruits. He bought me like a cute little purse thing, because he saw I was just carrying things around in my hand. Like I didn't have to buy anything. They didn't ask me for anything, yet they had gifts to give me. The third thing I do want to mention is that they were not looking to try and impregnate me, okay? And I have to mention this because it seems to be a common thing for guys here to find someone from foreign, okay? Then purposefully impregnate them. And they do that because it helps them, to move to foreign to be with the woman, because it looks better, I guess, when, in terms of getting a visa, when you have a family, when you have like, someone who you have impregnated and they have a child for you, it's like, they want the family to be together. So I guess it makes it a little easier to get a visa. I think that's the thought process. I don't actually know if that does make things easier, but I think that's a thought process. Like even my husband, after some time, people at his workplace asked him like, "Yo, why don't you try and get her pregnant? Why don't you?" And he's like, "You have pitney money? You have money for raise pitney?" But none of them even hinted at children. So there's that. Now the fourth thing is that they did not seem interested. Not one of them seemed interested in moving abroad. Like that topic never really came up. And if it did, it was like after a while, like with Keith, it wasn't right away. Like it was after, I don't know, at least 6 months or something, where they mentioned, they want to come to Canada to take care of me. And in terms of Keith, like he didn't need me to get a visa. His mom was already in Canada and working on his situation to get him to Canada, so like he didn't need me for that. But as I said, he did want to like pay for my school, if anything, but other than that, he didn't really express any desire to move to Canada. He was very content with where he was, like in Jamaica, and what he was doing. And in terms of my husband actually said he had no interest in Canada because it's like, hey, I have a job here. I know how much it pays. I know that it's stable. I don't know what's going on in Canada, so I'm good. Like I had to convince him after a couple of years for us to go to Canada, pretty much. Now the fifth thing is that these guys were generous, right? Not rich, but they were generous, however they could be. So whether that was with their time, whether it was like bringing me gifts, as I mentioned, whether it was like they grew a plant, I don't know, some plant, some herb, something, you know, I talked about in one of the videos, I talked about like, I really like moringa. That's a stray dog, by the way. They are rowdy tonight. Anyway, in a previous video, I talked about how, you know, I love moringa and stuff. Like, he'd bring me bushes, teas like that. They were very generous, however they could be. And then the sixth thing, the last thing I'm going to mention, is that they all put in effort. Okay. So what I mean here is that they made it very known, okay, very clearly, how they felt about me and that they were interested in me as a person and not like my parts. I mean, I guess they were all interested in my parts. Aren't like men are always, heterosexual men are always interested in a woman's parts, I guess. But they made it very clear that they wanted to get to know me. Okay. So I think that because of these things, especially with them all having jobs that they were satisfied with, you know, they weren't looking at me as an opportunity, or they weren't looking at me for a handout, you know, because they were fine with their lives. Like, they weren't trying to impregnate me in order to help them get a visa. They never pressured me for anything at all, right? And I think that's why my experiences were so positive. Now for you, okay, the short of it is, if he has a job that he's comfortable with, he won't be, it's less likely that he's going to be looking at you as an opportunity, right? And so because of that, it gives you the opportunity for you and him to really get to know each other. And as I said, at least this is based on my experience. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, it might be important or it might not, okay? But I do want to mention that I was not intimate with any of these men up front. I mean, like, yeah, okay, we kissed and hugged, but like PIV stuff, macaroni sounds, like, no, none of that. I mean, the main reason was because it was really because I hadn't done that before. You know, I grew up in a, I guess you can call it conservative Christian household. I went to a conservative Christian church. I guess it was just the point of that. It was drilled into my head from very young, that you don't give men that before marriage, and that once men get that, they will dash you away, right? So I didn't want to be dashed away. Yeah, so I held out. I did not do any of that with these men up front, you know, and I didn't do any of that at all until my husband and I were exclusive. I didn't make it to marriage. Y'all, Jamaican men have a way. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna say anything else. But I will say that I do think that this helped, because at least when my husband and I talked about this way early in the relationship, he probably won't remember this, but I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. I remember it. Like, he mentioned that it's common for women here to actually wait until there's exclusivity, at least at that point in time. So I guess the men here are kind of used to waiting for something like that. I don't know. Either way, I didn't feel pressured. I didn't feel pressured, and I also, as I said, I made it very clear that's not happening until marriage, or at least until some very serious exclusivity. And I also think that because I wasn't going crazy for the Cocoa Puffs, I could think more clearly about, you know, whether we were actually a good match, instead of, you know, thinking about maybe like how good the O was, right? Because it appears that Jamaican men are prolific for a reason. You know, I think I'm talking too much. I'm gonna leave that there. I don't know all Jamaican men, okay? But it seems common enough. I mentioned in the last video the SMEX tourism thing, okay? And I have known men where the women kept coming back. They came back every however many months, or every year for sure, but however many months, those women would keep coming back. So it seems Jamaican men are prolific for a reason. And I guess it's kind of hard to think clearly when, you know, your lizard brain kicks in and it wants an itch scratched in a particular way. Now, I'm not saying for you to do what I did. I do want to make that disclaimer, okay? Do whatever you want. It's your life, your body. Do whatever you want. I actually don't care. Do what's best for you, boo, okay? But what I'm saying is, I think that these things helped me, and maybe this will also help you, right? And if this part, like if you don't resonate with this part I'm saying about like holding out, then, you know, at least the things I talked about previously, keeping that in mind. And then one more thing I do want to mention, okay, ladies, is just be aware that Jamaican men are, a lot of them are sweet talkers, yes. They are very, as I said, very quick in wanting to become exclusive with you. That is normal, okay? It's not, I don't think, some people would consider that love bombing. I don't think it's love bombing here, because Jamaican men do that with any woman who they are interested in. They just make it very clear. They don't ever want the woman to be confused about how they feel about that woman. They don't want anybody to be confused about how they feel about that woman, okay? Like I told you already, Jamaican men are very forward. Jamaican men are also sweet talkers. That's something to keep in mind. If you're not used to that, they're not just forward, they're also, I don't know, I feel like I don't know, it's just Jamaican men. I feel like Caribbean men all went to the same sweet talking school, because how is it all of them? I've talked to I've talked to some men from different islands back when I was single, and the whole of them just, the sweet talking is on level 1,000. I don't know what school they go to learn that, but it seems they all learn it. Be aware of that, because you may fall head over heels quickly if you're not aware, right? And you don't want to, be falling head over heels for the wrong person. So that's just something for you to be aware of. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say for today. I did want to mention something. I have in my list here something about, Jamaican men not just being sweet talkers, but being very intentional. But I did mention about them being forward, just with their intentions. Just something to keep in mind, okay? Now, to me, this is easy to see, but maybe for you, this may not be easy to see. If a Jamaican man is coming up to me and he is telling me about what he wants to do to me in the bedroom, etc., etc., I know what he's about. He's about getting the wham bam, thank you ma'am, goodbye. And when I was single, if a man would say that to me, I'm like, well, like, I'm looking for like an actual, if I'm looking for anything, right? Because I mean, at that point, when I actually came here, I actually wasn't looking for something. I was actually like, hey, I want to be single for a bit and like live my life single. And then I met my husband. I wanted to live alone for a little bit. That did not happen. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm still very happy. Yeah, if a man's coming up to me chatting that type of chat, I know what he's about. He's not about taking me serious, right? The men I find who are taking you serious, I mean, they will be serious about you. They're going to tell you, they're going to want to get to know you, okay? They're going to ask you questions about you. Like I mentioned in the last video about just the cultural people not reciprocating certain questions. But if he is interested in you, he will ask about you. He will ask about your thoughts. He's going to want to get to know you. He's going to want to take you out to places. He's going to want to show you off to his friends. He's going to want people to know that you guys are together, right? Like if a man's looking for a wham bam, thank you ma'am, he's not going to be doing all that. He's not going to spend the effort to do all of that. Right? He's not going to spend the effort to let other men know, you see this one here? Take your eyes off of her, right? So that's something that I just want you to be aware of. Like these are the type of things that I also looked out for. Okay. So I think that's it. I think that's it for me today. I think that's all I have. So I hope that you ladies, especially that are watching this, I hope that you found this helpful and informative, or at least entertaining. Okay, if you did, do let me know by hitting that like button. But I also want to hear from you, people who are watching, because I know there's going to be some people watching who are either not single, they just want to kind of find out about how things are, or or they're not a woman. But either way, I want to hear from you. Okay, if you are a Jamaican, or you're living here, or you have successfully dated a Jamaican, what do you think people need to know, especially foreigners? What do you think they need to know about having a successful relationship with a Jamaican, and in particular a Jamaican man? Okay, I want to be clear here. I said successful. We don't need any more horror stories. Okay, there's enough content out there for that. We're focused on success and positivity here. So if you have a success story to share, please do share it. If you have tips to share, please do share it. Let the people them know, because we want them to be successful as well, right? So that is it. And if you are planning to move here, please don't leave without getting your freebies, okay? I created these freebies to help you get a head start on things like what to bring, what to bring, what to prep, what to expect. So the link for that will be in the comments and description. And if you want even more support for your move here outside of the freebies and outside of my videos, I have created 2 resources to help your transition go even smoother. So the first is the Moving to Jamaica guide. I'm not sure if this will be fully finished by the time this video is out, but at the time of me recording this guide is available for pre-order for only $10, okay? The price will go up when it's done. I'm mostly done the content. I just need to make things pretty and tighten things up and polish the language and everything, but it is available for pre-order if you want to have an idea of like what you can expect, the type of content you can expect from the guide. If you go to the link in the comments and in the description, there will be like a picture in that link which shows the table of contents that I have so far, but I am hoping I could add a couple more sections to it. But again, that's $10, so feel free to pre-order it if you are interested in that. And then the second thing is the Rooted in Yard membership. So this is a supportive space with live video chat. So like we will all go on a live call, get to know each other, build community. You can ask me questions right there on the spot. I will help you as much as I can. There will be weekly reflection prompts. You will have access to a private community to connect with others, and you will get early access to all of my content that I am creating, so you don't have to wait for when all of my content is scheduled. You don't have to wait for when it releases. You'll have it all there. Okay, so that is it. As a reminder, the next video in the series will be for men, okay? Tips for men. So if you want to see that and you're not subscribed already, do subscribe so that you don't miss the notification for that. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.